Alright, we are still looking for smoking guns, RE, our people, Roottrees or not. Going left to right because, oh god. I don't even know what this means still. That'll be interesting. We excommunicate people from the family that were accepted Roottrees the whole time. The fact, I kind of anticipate a deep irony here where I'm like, Ronald wanted to get Robert kicked out of the family. But what if it turns out that, like, they were just never their real kids? Or the crazy irony of, like, what if just Ronald isn't actually a Roottree and it's the opposite of what the attempted thing was or something? That's wild. Or maybe Ronald is constantly trying to go after the clans and trust because maybe he isn't a Roottree and he's worried about getting caught. Anyway, we're gonna go to the tie-dye boys here, which 6 pieces, chef's signature, something's missing, company records, Butler County Times, Steve Garland. Same handful of things. James and Robert Garland. Okay. See what we can find here. It is interesting because we beat the whole first game, strong experience. Then we get to the DLC and it's like, it's kind of like doing the whole game again. Then you get to the fucking final question of the DLC and you're like, it's kind of like doing the entire DLC again. Like it's now, we are kind of going over all of the advice again, all of the evidence again, with a slightly different context of like, now we're trying to tell for sure if any of it's true. Because we technically only cared before about whether or not it was, I guess, possible. Let's see, so 6 pieces. Probably looking at Christine Farrow, Stephen Garland, probably Christine Farrow. Don't care about Elias. Don't care about Brazil. Elizabeth had a daughter who Sam never met who worked as one of Guy's secretaries. According to Elizabeth, a caterer from a local restaurant called Antonelli's met her daughter at one of the Guy's parties and they eloped quickly due to pregnancy. Elizabeth wasn't aware that the party was for swingers. Rumor has it that her daughter showed up with Guy and didn't seem comfortable switching partners. But then she eloped with the Antonelli's guy? The main evidence here, because like most of the story is about her going off with a new guy, which would make them not Roottrees. But she started with Guy. She came with Guy, which I assume implies past experiences with Guy. Granted, she didn't know it was a swingers party, but yeah, showing up to a swingers party inherently kind of implies that you're a couple of some kind in the first place. That's sex. Oh, that's. My volume was a little higher than normal. Still pretty quiet though. That saxophone really deletes my brain when it starts playing. I think that was Christine Farrow, because he has Stephen Garland's Antonelli's guy. Two brothers walk up in Boston called Friday. Let's see, I should change the Antonelli's page. So a question is going to be, what are their ages, and does it line up with the timeline? That seems to be a pretty consistent thing, and exactly the kind of thing that I did not have to look at when I was doing all this the first time. They're vegetarian, which seems irrelevant. Robert is 3 years younger than James. That's suspicious. That's actually really suspicious. Huh. And I think I pointed out before they have like subtly different hair colors, but that doesn't mean much unless I have news about my own family. My brother's blonde, and no one in the family is in the main family unit. So like DNA is just as weird because it's always recombining and so on. But yeah, for a moment you're like, this guy has like blonder hair and that guy has browner hair. Subtly. Noticeable enough just from an artist's perspective, you're like, they definitely picked a different color for the other guy. And we're using the same series of colors. Let's see. Wearing the sous chef jacket his whole life. So he's the younger one. We know that from the tree, though, because we've already set it up. He doesn't mind. As a result, James answers most of the interview questions. James credits his love for food with his culinary and upbringing. Most kids hate vegetables growing up, but they don't have parents like we did. My father was a chef, and my mother grew up on a farm that supplied the restaurant. That's how they met. Have any memories of the farm or anything like that since we moved here before I could even talk? They told me stories. Ooh. And that's James. They moved before James could even talk. With the 3-year age gap, it would seem like Robert wouldn't have been born yet. Okay. That's an issue for them. When we moved, they were looking to open their own restaurant together. Unfortunately, they never got off the ground. His line cook gig ended up being less temporary than he hoped, and she had to go back to work as a secretary even after Robert was born. Yeah. That just doubles the information there, but yeah, it really sounds like Robert was born here. Where are we again? Boston? Uh-huh. I think Robert's not a Roottree. I think he's already disqualified. In the diner where he worked, my dad had no room for experimenting, so he'd exercise his skills at home on his days off. We go shopping, kids are going around with ruckus. Best vegetables, good for them. Love their family, love their cool little business, good for you guys. Not relevant though. Sistine apple. I still don't remember what the actual answer was. It should have been Newton. Christine Farrow? Christine Garland? Is Garland a type of apple? I don't know. Company records. Christine Farrow was hired in 1776. I think I said 1776. Married in 1977. Gone in 1978. So that makes the window narrow. We could find out their ages. Yeah, she worked there for 2 years, married in the middle of it. It's possible she was pregnant when they moved and then she gave birth here. Or, and which would make, I guess could make them both Rootrees on some level, yeah. No, they're born 3 years apart, so she wasn't in contact with Guy for 3 years. So it's either or. Either she was pregnant during the move, and that's Sam's baby, or she already had a kid with Sam, and then later had a new kid after moving, and it's just absolutely not Sam's kid. Or both aren't his kid. I think that's all the evidence to get from that. Steve Garland. Steve Garland is mentioned in a couple of articles. The first was an article about how he met his wife Christine when he worked at Antonelli's. The second is from months later. In September of 1978, a listing for his weekend cooking class, Gourmet for the Groovy. The blurb mentions that he's giving lessons from his home kitchen for the last month, so he can keep an eye on his son. I'm going with that to say newborn son in 1978. He has to stay home to keep an eye on his son. That was from 1991. A local author sued by former Butler County resident. It seems that a local author by the name of Mark Zimmer was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales on television. His recipe book was partially plagiarized from the recipes of Steve Garland, who would give his students... the recipe that Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons before he moved. Before he moved. Keep an eye on my son. When did they move? But he did cooking lessons in 1978, which is when his son was born. I think it's the first son, because he was born, because that's before the move, apparently. Gave lessons before the move, so the 1978 baby is the elder son? The article mentions that although recipes are hard to copyright, Garland and come into the stories, blah blah blah. Let's see. Do we have any context from Mark Zimmer? Oh. Never looked up Mark Zimmer before. I definitely looked into his book before, because I definitely tried to... I think I looked it up in the library, and then got the updated title, and then looked up that one. Kitchen Tales with a short story-based recipe book credited to Mark Zimmer that had some success after it was featured on a morning talk show. The book, released before the internet, was widespread, so no mentions are rare. Some mentions are rare. One book collector states that the publishers were unprepared for the demand and that there was no second printing, so it's unusual to find a copy in the wild. You find an alternative medicine website that focuses on cooking with natural ingredients. It mentions that one of Kitchen Tales' recipes uses salt water. The owner of the site has included a scan of the recipe, which was added to your evidence. She says if you switch out the salt water in the recipe for a mix of 2/3 spring water, 1/3 filtered seawater, it tastes great. Filtered seawater. So salt water. Am I insane? What filtered of what? Filtered of what? The plated loaf. That's a lot of text. Is it all in here? For 2 years, bakers Flora and Yates flirted. Yeah, that's the first line there. Okay, so I think it's all transcribed in here. The plated loaf. Kitchen Tales is a book that combines recipes and stories. It had mild popularity, but seemed to disappear from online marketplaces in 1992. You found a scan of one story on a website. It demonstrated how to bake the plated loaf. For 2 years, bakers Flora and Yates flirted. They grew their friendship, compared recipes, and combined knowledge. She loved his salt and pepper beard. His salt and pepper beard. He adored her rosemary cheeks. They thought sweetly about one another, but he was one day whisked away, conscripted to bake the army's bread. By the oil of the lamp, Flora's tears began to salt her bread. The recipe asks the reader to combine flour, yeast, sugar, olive oil, and rosemary, combine the salt and water together, and add the mixture and whisk until the dough begins to form. It was 10 to 12 years after that they met again. Oddly specific, awkward number, and it's supposed to be how many minutes you bake it for or something. Seemingly by fate. Flora's unique dough had earned her a position as the king's personal baker. Yates had found success as well. He baked for the kingdom's 45 diplomats. These must be important numbers. Because, yeah, they're coming up later. I was like, wow, otherwise why are these in the story? It's really awkward to just randomly include really specific numbers in a story. One day they returned from the Dutch Isles with a gift. 450 unbaked loaves, and were sent to the palace bakery to teach a method that required no kneading. Allow the dough to proof for 10 to 12 hours. Then spread it out and let it sit for over 45 minutes on a floured baking sheet with no kneading. Next, prepare a Dutch oven preheated at 450 degrees. That's all the numbers. Upon seeing Yates, Flora was both delighted and distraught. She felt as if she was torn in two. She had not been made aware of the gift, and had already prepared buns for the palace ovens. She wished to greet Yates warmly, but was struck by fears that he'd be unable to bake with her, that she'd face retribution for being unprepared. She cried to Yates, adding more salt to her dough. Cut the dough into equal pieces and lightly sprinkle salt across the top of only one of them. Only one, okay. Yates eased her pain. He insisted that he had no obligation to prepare for a return she thought impossible. But he shared her fear of retribution. He knew they did not solve her predicament. They'd miss their final chance to bake together. In the end, instead of wallowing in the present, they worked together to shape the future. They twisted and entwined their doughs and baked them as one. Thus was born the plated loaf. Word quickly spread of this new delight. The king's decree on royal parchment was that it would be considered a delicacy. Roll and twist the pieces to entwine them, then take the twist and wrap around the inside of the Dutch oven, atop parchment from outside, inward to make a spiral. A spiral? How does it end up looking like the picture? Bankrolled by the king, Flora and Yates spent their days baking together. They traveled for 45 years, then settled down for 15 more. Their souls were golden, with no regrets. Lastly, bake for 45 minutes, remove lid, and observe until crust is golden brown, which could take up to 15 minutes. Never baked bread before. That's my thought. What the fuck? Is this a smoking gun, or is this just random? Because, oh, god damn it. What? Is the story like a metaphor? Also, she has to keep crying in order to make the recipe work? Is it that they flirted, but then he was he drafted for a war or something? I assume Flora's supposed to be Pharaoh, the wife, and that she was stuck working for Guy. I don't know. I assume this number is not how long they were separated, because that's not what the timeline seems to be. And also, that's a recipe number. It almost sounds like she's happy that her lover was back and wanted to be with him, but she already had a literal bun in the oven. Like she was pregnant when they met. This seems shaky. If this story is autobiographical, did Pharaoh have a bun in the oven when she reunited with Garland? Is the first son Guy's? Which is what I was already thinking. I'd never be able to bake with her again. Because they did end up never working together ever again. Although these are stories... these are supposed to be stories that he told before they moved. So they didn't know they were going to move to... was it Boston? And then never get to open their bakery together. Instead of worrying about the present, they shape the future. Twining their doughs does sound like sex. There was also like their catering. There's a lot of mixed. It's funny because I'm the Beastars video essayist guy, so I'm like, oh, it sounds like we're combining food and sex metaphors here. Like, she wanted to cook with the caterer, but also like they were, like, she seemingly coupled up with the caterer at the couples at the swingers party. And so like, and then the combined doughs sounds like innuendo. Creating a spiral. Bankrolled by the king, then traveling. So it sounds, because of his arrangement of what he was up to with the secretaries, it makes it seem like the husband knew that she was having an affair with Guy, but they were like, well, the money definitely helps, we'll just make it work or something. I don't like interpreting metaphor and innuendo out of a fictional story, though, in order to try to denote something that's supposed to be concrete. I also get mixed up because wasn't it like, I thought he was like catering to her farm or something? But I just clicked on the same thing again. I thought he was catering to her farm. But then also the party, the swingers party happened. I guess that's just, yeah, I guess that's where they got reunited. They must have been working together at one point. And then she became a secretary. And then they never saw each other again until the swingers party. Combining their doughs could be their marriage. They had a son in 1978. Multiple hints about that. They got married in 1977. Do I know when they moved? The guy took over in 1978. Through parties. Yeah, the caterer was at the caterer from Antonelli's was at Guy's party, and they eloped. This Brazil thing is so irrelevant to this page. They met years ago when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. So she used to deliver to Antonelli's, is what I'm getting here. So she was delivering food to him, and then he would later deliver food to where she was. They grew apart when the restaurant switched suppliers. That does match up with the fucking story. So it's a metaphor of their relationship. Or analogy or whatever. I don't want to think about it right now. He's a secretary but went back to delivering produce on the weekends, trying to save up money to move to Boston and open their own restaurant. So Antonelli's closed in 1992 with Rochelle Zimmer. Zimmer. I was just looking into a Zimmer, didn't I? Mark Zimmer. So Mark and Rochelle must be related then. So those are the people that... Oh, right, because it wasn't his old boss or something? God, it's so much to try to remember. But anyway, the people that... There was some group of the Zimmers run Antonelli's in the end. Because, yeah, he was just an employee at Antonelli's. He didn't work there. Yeah, I think it was his old boss or something that, like, plagiarized him. But they have this old bit about her 1978 bit. They grew apart. They were connected by chance and eloped at the end of last year. Now she has a bun in the oven and they're both working as much as they can. She's a secretary but went back to delivering produce on the weekends, trying to save up money to move to Boston and open their own restaurant. Mark Zimmer then is sued by Steve Garland after the move. So in 1978 they were saving up to move and she was pregnant. So that's the timeline for when they would have had the first kid. moved to Boston just so we could hang out. I don't think we get to have their exact ages, just the age gap, which is too big. Yeah, the chef signature article is from last year, which was the year that the main game took place during, so it was new. That's basically their current ages as far as appearance goes, but that don't know what to do with that. I think like no years are mentioned in this entire article, except for when the actual article took place. Yeah, moved here before I could even talk. Is maybe the smoking gun here? So James was could have been conceived from Sam, but his brother was born years later after the move. I think that's all I can go on. So James is a relative, and Robert, did I say Sam? Is not a Roottree. I'm more confident on Robert not being a Roottree than I am about James being a Roottree, but it's at least something. You just gotta believe. Whew. Alright. Got distracted for a bit because I was talking with Andrew for like an hour. And I gotta get back to the game now. Because I'm gonna run out of time soon if I don't get back to the game. Oh, you still got a thingy. Yeah, Courtney-May Watts, aka Anonymom's Jane Doe. Jane Doe Roottree. We have all the clues, so we've seen all the evidence. I think I'm just gonna say she's a blood relative. This is just really deeply tied with investigating 5 Ps, and we've looked at the whole situation a lot. And also, it would just be crushing if she was not a blood relative. The whole premise of this was that if the data is being fucked with, and the idea is that she is a blood relative. That said, a struggle here is that I think technically she has never had a DNA test. Well, she had a DNA test in that her DNA was tested, but I think it wasn't compared with the person it's supposed to be compared with. So we may have disproved the negative DNA test being incorrect, but that doesn't make it a positive DNA test. But there's like a narrative symmetry here of being like, she's got to be right, right? Please let her be right. I need someone to be right. Okay. For you, do I have all your stuff? Still missing one. Okay. All right, Min Lang. Lang Min? No, Min Lang. Yeah. This is the Shin Yu situation. Lang Shin Yu. Lang. I guess that is the mess. Is that the names go back and forth anyway? Okay, so. We have the company records. That's just when somebody. What is the relevance of the company records? Just what years that. I'm gonna guess that the company records are based on our age. Let's see, I think we're going back to Roottree Global. Me combining multiple storylines into this page is a bit of a nightmare. Or is it mostly Lang Tai? France was a dead end. Sao Paulo. This thing does unfortunately combine the South American and Asian branches into the same tab. I did not know I was going to have to then reassess them in this context, so that's unfortunate for me. Martin's licorice bullets. Okay, that's all relevant. Hongbo. Early adopter of IVF. For a year? Didn't we come to the conclusion that they swapped kids? Oh God. What a thing to unpack this much later. It's... It was that she... Didn't she carry the IVF child? It was the son, right? She carried the son for her sister, and that was just true, I think. Like, I was anticipating that being the cover-up. Like, adoption, IVF all seem like ways of doing cover-ups for guys' kids. But I think this was the case where that was wrong, and it was just genuine. She just actually did carry her sister's child for her because she couldn't. And then she went on to have her own child, which is Min Ling, which is who we think might be a Roottree. And it wasn't like wasn't it timing based? Like the son was too old to have been. Our kid's the complete opposite. Hanging with the Hans. I wasn't thinking about years that much back then. But yeah, when is this? Focus on philanthropy. Hang with the Hans. When the company expanded the US, Jerry took over the US portion of the business. Alanis Morissette. It's like rain. Yeah, I believe there was a double surprise, which is that the story is just played straight. There's a huge, I think that was the one where there was a huge red herring about the IVF, but instead it's just when you get back to when you're looking at the U.S. families, their niece, which is just her daughter, was just born there, not in the U.S. No shenanigans, just a normal daughter that just doesn't have much of a presence in the story, and the way that she's framed. The omissions make the things that get focused on, like the IVF, make it suspicious, and then the actual facts of her life are like almost omitted to the point where it's like easy to lose track of things. The first IVF birth was in 1978. Isn't that a problem? No, he was around until 1982. God, am I just like wrong about everything? Do I just not remember what the deals are with this? $100,000 to have her take her sister's child. They paid for it a bunch. The question is whether or not they felt that much of a need to do that to cover something up or not. But like, she's already confirmed. She's the one that's locked in, not the son. That was the one that was actually IVF, as far as we can tell. Unless that was the lie? So what is the final rule? Paid Kaijeans. I looked up Kaijeans. Key genes, yeah. There's the suggestion it might be an alibi. We only have proof of one, which is not who we're looking for. Anyone here? Since Business Watch is here, yep. Key Genes Company was mentioned once in an article you already read about Lang Tai, but then again later in 1984. There's a long article that spells out the huge controversy. It seems that a whistleblower came forward to the US government about Key Genes, which said that they've been found to have been founded in China by a partnership involving American and Chinese medical specialists who then built their medical facilities in the United States. The article mentions the whistleblower's claim. Key Genes will sometimes claim that they performed IVF when they did not. This would often be used as an excuse for an otherwise unexplainable pregnancy. They'd fly their clients to America, where they would stay for an extended period of time, then return to China with news of a successful IVF pregnancy. The whistleblower apparently presented the Department of Health and Human Services with credible evidence. At the time of the article, it was still an ongoing investigation, but Business Watch speculated after copies of the proof were leaked to various media sources that they couldn't imagine a world in which the company would be allowed to continue operations without facing serious legal or financial consequences. Oh no, that's the last thing? Isn't that just the same thing I already read? I guess for some reason they didn't count the search version of Key Genes, but they counted the Business Watch periodical version of Key Genes as being the news. The only date we have is 1994, but that's just the whistleblower date. It's not helpful. What is that supposed to mean? And why does it say that these company records matter? What's in these company records? These people, none of these people even go to China at any point. Like they don't come up in the story. Catherine Garrett's hired. Just employments. Shiwa. It's a lot of flavor. So lots of parties. Grandorf Dove donation. So he knows he's used company funds as what might be hush money. Because he did this for the School of the Deaf. $250,000. We've been looking at this for a while now, and I don't think any of these flavors have ever come up before. Strawberry, Shigua, and butterscotch. Strawberry, Shigua, and butterscotch. One of those is just obviously sounds Chinese. I want to be back on the page. Thai. Xinyao. Xinyu. Those are weirdly similar words, but Shigua? Am I missing someone? Was somebody named that? Igua Lang. Lang Shigua, right? I don't know what to do with the suspiciously similar names. Does the previous logic apply where the names match up with letters? Does he have fucking 5-piece flavors for his affairs? SXBC. Whose names are we matching it up with? With you, we can't really tell because they'd both be... Well, no, your name's Min, but you're Xingyu. Christine Farrow could be Caviar. Joanna Robertson died. Beatrice Watts would be Butterscotch. How many of them is that? We have found Caviar, Shiwa, Butterscotch. Who's Strawberry? S. Sonia Alves. Or Susan Ford? Do you really have to pay hush money to the wife of a world leader? I guess what depends on when, because at some point they weren't doing great, but that's $10,000 a month of hush money potentially. It's actually interesting because specifically, if there's no J, and that's what the trend here is, fuck is it? It really is easiest to get there by going through here. Let's see, Butterscotch Caviar. Can't believe 5 pieces is coming up again. There's like a closure to that. Butterscotch B, Caviar, Christine. So it's first name, so Joanna. There'd be a J if 5 Ps was real. That's a good sign for the check marks that I've done so far. And X is really narrowed down to just that then. But then, because I've been going left to right, that leaves me with an S, and their names are Sonia and Susan, so that does not narrow it down of which one of them is real and which one of them is fake. It does seem to imply that one of them's fake and one of them's real. This assumes that Guy knew which ones were real and which ones weren't. I guess the affair and the infidelity was real no matter what, so they could be extorting him for money even if there's no kid or anything. Whereas the absence here reinforces the idea that they're just sort of like co-opting the story of a dead woman, her own mother. It seems like a yes, but I don't know what the timeline is. That's kind of bothering me. I want to know like when she was born. So Shiwa starts in 1980, which means that she would be 19 right now. I assume it starts then because, yeah, there's Caviar here. And Butterscotch. Caviar in 1978. Butterscotch and caviar in 1979. They match up with the years of infidelity, but that's just because everything also matches up with those years, so it's hard to say. And they all just kept going until Guy Hudson died. And then his replacement, Ernest Matson Jr., cut off all of those supply lines. Sugar plum. Strawberry and sugar plum, 2 S's. And that one's twice as much? Wait, that lines up a lot. If that's because there's 2 kids. Is that why? Is it double for her because she had twins? That is a strong sign that they're all that. Huh. Okay. I'm so confused. I'm really mixed up on the 2 kids, Min and then the boy. I'm like, which one of them was the IVF? Am I wrong again? And she had Min via IVF? Or she pretended that did she hide the pregnancy of Min via IVF? No, because the whole premise was that she carried a child for her sister, right? Who she now has. She has that child, right? Huh. Nothing fucking makes sense to me. Okay. Her nephew's taking over when she retires. I'm currently inclined to say that she is a blood relative because of the alimony payments, basically. I'm just like, can I get any more context? But there's just not a lot, apparently. Even the thing says there's not that much. Okay, Butch Cassidy and Robert Redford. Are they actually like in incestity? Oop. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid was a popular 90s, 70s film. Robert Redford, who played the Sundance Kid, is famously red-headed. She's into redheads. Wait. Really? I'm just gonna give up. I'm just gonna give up and say that she's a blood relative. The fact that we found the 5-piece conspiracy again with kids, but this time it's for 5 secret kids, or 6 if the twins count, which they do, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 5 strings here, which excludes Joanna and the fraud that is David. So I'll keep investigating, but that might mean that all of these people are also kids, or at least the affair. The issues might just be that the affair is real. They didn't have DNA evidence back then. So I don't have proof that they're related yet, but That's a good chance. What are we down to? 6 more Rootrees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, the first guy, yeah. I'm just gonna have to make a call at some fucking point. Jesus. Alright, let's take a break.